Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, District 1. We appreciate you being here, joining us on this bright and sunny 27th day of March 2021. Prayerfully, everyone has remained safe and healthy since the last time we gathered together. We have some very important topics today that we want to discuss this morning, so I'm not going to delay them. We're going to talk about a very critical program that is designed to help save the lives of sleeping infants in the city of Detroit. We'll also be joined by the chairperson of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. She's a Detroiter. That's also, for those of you who don't know, that's the commission that's set to draw the upcoming U.S. congressional and Michigan State House and State Senate district lines. We also have a return of one of my favorite segments in the D1 Monthly Meeting. That's our Youth Spotlight. But first up, the current community benefits ordinance that the city is operating under was approved by the Detroit voters in 2016. It was developed to address the potential negative impacts that the development project has in the neighborhood, as well as also identifying the community benefits that development could provide value in that neighborhood, wherever that development is located, beyond just the building being present in that particular neighborhood. We have now reached a time where it allows us to make changes to the current version of the ordinance, and there's several opinions on how to make the ordinance better, more impactful for our taxpayers, as well as our neighborhoods. There's also some pushback by developers and others who believe that some of the proposed changes go too far and may cause these multi-million-dollar projects to find their way to some other cities outside of Detroit. This morning, we're going to be joined by members of the CREO department. Now, the CREO Department of Civil Rights Inclusion, let me take it back. The Department of Civil Rights Inclusion and Opportunity, also known as CREO, is responsible for monitoring and enforcing and investigating the provisions within the Community Benefits Agreement. And joining us today is CREO Director Kim Rustum, as well as the Incentives Compliance Manager of CREO, Ms. Tanika Gibbs, to describe their role in evaluating the city's various CBOs, as well as their most recent published biannual CBO status report. We're also joined by a city planner and policy analyst for the Detroit City Council, D1's own George Etheridge, who will discuss the process that the City Planning Commission is undergoing to aid City Council in the amendment process. I want to say good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate your participation today. So Director Rustum, CREO, just named director this month, right? Congratulations.
Right.
Big shout out for that. Talk to us a little bit about CREO's participation in the analysis of the current community benefits agreements that we have in the city of Detroit.
Yep, and thank you again, council member, and hi to everyone out there in District 1. My name is Kimberly Rustum, and I am the new director of the Civil Rights Inclusion and Opportunity Department. I'm so privileged to have this opportunity to really represent our residents in this new role, and also to make sure that all of our civil rights are being protected across the city, and then also making sure that Detroiters have access to every single opportunity that they should have access to. And I take that role very seriously, and I'm so excited to make sure that happens and talking with you all today. So as council member mentioned, we will be presenting to you on CREO's role in making sure that the promises that are made as part of those CBO or community benefits agreements, those promises that are made are actually kept. And we consistently generate reports that Tanika Griggs, who's our wonderful incentives compliance manager, will actually take you through. But we generate reports to make sure that those promises are being kept, and everything that was once promised to our residents is happening. So with that being said, I'm actually going to turn it over to our incentives compliance manager, because I want you all to also get to know all of our team members at CREO, so that you know our faces and you can reach out to us. Please, 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 when you have questions, reach out to me, reach out to Tanika, reach out to other members of our department. We want to hear from you, because we can't do our job right or protect your rights and your opportunities without you reaching out. So we're excited to be here today. So I will kick it over to Tanika.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm excited to be here with District 1 today to talk more about the Community Benefits Ordinance in more detail. Can we get the PowerPoint up, please? Okay, so we're just going to present on a little background about the CBO and also the monitoring process and the current status of all community benefits projects that we are monitoring. So the Community Benefits Ordinance is a law that requires developers to proactively engage with the community to identify community benefits and address potential negative impacts of certain development projects. This ordinance was approved by Detroit voters in 2016. Detroit is the first city in the country to require that developers invite community members to the table when negotiating $1 million projects. Next slide, please. So the Community Benefits Ordinance applies when a development project is 75 million or more in value and receives 1 million or more in property tax abatements, or receives 1 million or more in value of city land sales or transfers. So there's a neighborhood advisory council. When a project triggers the CBO process, a neighborhood advisory council, which we also call the NAC, is established, with 9 representatives from the project's impact area to work directly with the developer and establish community benefits, which are included in the final development agreement approved by the Detroit City Council. So once, like I mentioned before, the NAC consists of 9 members who are selected. So there's 2 elected by residents of the impact area, 4 selected by the City of Detroit Planning and Development Department, 2 selected by the at-large council members, and then 1 selected by the local district council member whose district contains the largest portion of that project. So here's a few positive outcomes of the Community Benefits Ordinance. It creates an opportunity for community engagement on private developments. The community has an opportunity to express potential project impacts in a direct dialogue with the developer. The community is better informed about the project and construction timelines. The developer has a chance to hear what's important to the community, and serving on the NAC provides Detroiters the opportunity to participate in the city's growth. So here are a few projects that we are currently monitoring. There are 9 that we are currently monitoring, and then there's 1 that's up and coming. So we're monitoring the Pistons, Herman Kiefer, Hudson's, the Midtown Weigel, FCA, Book Building and Monroe Block, Lafayette West, Michigan Central Station, and then Michigan and Church Street project is an up and coming project. So here is the monitoring process. CREO is solely responsible for monitoring, enforcing, and investigating the provisions within the Community Benefits Agreement. So twice a year, the inclusion analyst from CREO will send a biannual CBO status request letter and a reporting form to the developer. The developer has 14 days to complete the reporting form. This form is composed of all the commitments that are in the Community Benefits Agreement, and it requires the developer to provide a status update along with supporting documents on each commitment. The inclusion analyst will review the submitted information and request a project walkthrough if necessary, or additional information and proofs or clarification within 7 days of the submission. Where a project is found off track, a meeting is held with the developer to create a compliance plan. Compliance with this plan is included with the following biannual report, and it is uploaded to our website. The finalized report is submitted to City Council for review. So here is just a list of the compliance status of the different projects as of October 2020. So there is Herman Kiefer. There was 25% of commitments that were completed out of a total of 12 commitments. For Hudson, they were 16% completed out of 19 commitments. Michigan Central Station, 19% complete out of 43 commitments. Book Building and Tower, 10% complete out of 20 commitments. Monroe Block, 8% complete out of 26 commitments. The Pistons, 37% complete out of 24 commitments. Then you have Weigel, 13% complete out of 23 commitments. FCA, 47% complete out of 66 commitments. And then Lafayette West, 2% complete out of 55 commitments. And also the Mid, which has 0% complete out of 26 commitments.
Tanika,
Yes.
sorry, before you move from that, can you just explain though, in the column 2, those that are off track, and how, even though it might be 25%, how most of them are still on track, just the one that's off track? Can you just explain?
Yes, so the good thing here is that with this report status of 2020, all commitments, there were no commitments really off track except one, which was the Herman Kiefer project. Other than that, there were no other commitments that were off track. And when we say off track, that means that they had a certain timeline or something that was supposed to be completed within that time frame that had not been done. So for instance, Herman Kiefer, they have to have community meetings quarterly. And they did not have quarterly meetings prior to this previous report. So that was considered off track, and they did submit a compliance plan with specific dates of holding quarterly meetings. And as of today, they are hosting monthly meetings with the community.
Thank you.
The CBO compliance public comment. So this is actually on our webpage. I will also put it in the chat after this presentation. This is where if there's any complaints in regards to the CBO report that we put out in regards to the findings, you can go onto our webpage and submit a public comment, and we will investigate that public comment. We review the submission from the current CBO report and the CBO commitments to determine appropriate next steps. Any identified issues are investigated, including site visits when appropriate. And CREO provides a written response to developers, complainant, and the NAC with our findings from the complaint. And do you guys have any questions for me?
So what we'll do is we'll give Mr. Etheridge an opportunity to give his presentation, then we'll open up for questions from the public. But thank you for both for the presentation, and we're going to shift it over. I think that's on how it looks on my screen, over this way to George Etheridge, CPC and political and policy analyst for the City Council. George, talk to us about where we are now. And we know that there are amendments that have been put forward. We're at the point now where the city is able to make amendments to the current community benefits ordinance. And there are some suggestions, there are some proposals that have come from various elements within our community, some from the community itself, some from council members, some from developers as well. Talk to us a little bit about the process that City Planning Commission has undergone to gather all of these proposals, suggestions, and I know that you all have compiled them and put a report together. So talk to us a little bit about that, as well as what the next steps are for the amendment process, please.
Absolutely. So all in all, I have a presentation as well, but some total of 62 proposed amendments were ultimately submitted for the community benefits ordinance. If you've ever seen the ordinance, it's literally like 4 pages, but 62 proposed recommendations were submitted. Back in 2016, the initial recommendation came from a community group known as Detroit People's Platform and Citizens for Equitable Detroit. And that was Proposal A on the ballot, and it was countered with Proposal B, which ultimately prevailed. And in 2018, the People's Platform submitted proposed recommendations. Again, as you had indicated, after a year of a ballot initiative being enacted, it's able to be amended. And they did submit several recommendations, and that kind of launched the flurry of proposed recommendations that we saw coming from council, coming from staff, coming from the community in general. As a part of the ordinance, legislative policy serves as council's liaison for these various community benefits processes. To date, we've gone through 12 of the processes, and one just started up this current month. So with that, that's where those recommendations came from. It was the direction of council that we look at each of these recommendations, and we formed a governmental working group. And within that working group, we looked at the pros and cons of each of the recommendations. Some were combined, many of them were similar, they were pared down, and ultimately 17 were advanced. We started meeting in October of 2018 and concluded our meetings in April of 2019. We had a sum total of about 7 meetings. From there, with those 17 recommendations, we put them out.
Mr.
Yes,
Evans,
sir.
are you looking to show your screen?
Oh, absolutely. I can share and go through what each of those recommendations are as well.
Yeah, we want to
But,
make sure the public has an opportunity to kind of see this while you talk as well.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. All right, next slide. All right, so again, so April 2019, the working group concluded our review and the recommendations that were advanced, resulting in the 17 proposed amendments. In August of 2019, council recommended that we put this out to the community to get their feedback. So we sent it out to 1,500 residents and business owners and developers that had previously been engaged with community benefits. We used the list that came from each of the 12 CBO processes and NAC processes. Anyone that had attended a meeting, provided their name and email address, they received a notice. Each of the council members sent it out to their various networks. It was shared through Gov Delivery, so it went out citywide. And the survey lived on the city's website for 3 months. Despite our best efforts, we got 67 responses in regards to that. But I'll briefly go through what those responses were to those proposed amendments. In September, the survey closed. In January of 2020, we did hold a citywide stakeholders meeting to go over those 17 recommendations. We had over 300 people in attendance at that very cold January meeting in the beginning of last year. And then we did do a subsequent meeting in July of 2020, specifically geared towards developers, so we could hear their concerns and make sure that their voices were heard in regard to the 17 proposed amendments. And then in October of last year, we did submit our final report with all of our attachments. So this is a public document. It's a 124-page document, which shows the work charts from the working group, which shows our PowerPoint presentations, all of the community feedback that we've received, as well as recommendations. All of that is compiled in one central location and is made available on the city's website for those that wish to view it. Next slide. So again, just very briefly going through what those proposed recommendations are. Currently, the threshold for investment is $75 million, as well as with $1 million of tax benefit or value in land of $1 million. The recommendation is to lower that threshold to from 75 to $50 million. Next slide. So again, in response to the responses received from the community survey, 78% of that 67 were in support of this proposed amendment, 22 were in opposition. Next slide. The second amendment was in regards to the composition of the enforcement committee. So this is the committee where if the neighborhood advisory council has issues or concerns with the developer, they submit their concerns to this committee, and then enforcement and corrective action is taken. The proposed recommendation is to expand the enforcement committee. One, changing human rights to CREO, which we've done, as well as including the legislative policy division, since we serve as the council liaison, and then the chair of the respective NAC has been recommended to serve on each individual enforcement committee, specifically to ensure that the concerns raised by the community are accurately articulated. And then again, stating that the chair of that NAC should be an ex officio member, again, there for additional supportive purposes. Next slide. 84% of the respondents were in support of this proposed amendment, 16% were in opposition. Next slide. The third amendment was in regards to tier 2, which with tier 2s, it has an investment amount of $3 million. And all that really calls for is for the developer to meet with the planning and development director to talk about those potential impacts and ways to mitigate them on the front end. But it lowers that threshold for the tier 2 from $3 million to $300,000. That's the proposed amendment. Next slide. 63% were in support of this recommendation, 37% were in opposition. Next slide. The fourth amendment was in regards to the community engagement process. stating that no fewer than 5 meetings be held unless a majority of the NAC deems otherwise. The current ordinance only requires 1 meeting. However, the practice through the entire duration of the community benefits process has been about 5 meetings. There really haven't been any developments that have gone fewer than 5 meetings. So this is just really codifying the current practice of having those 5 meetings and guaranteeing that the community has an opportunity to hear and weigh in. Next slide. 82% were in support of this recommendation, 18% were in opposition. Next slide. Proposal number 5, in regards to meeting notice. Right now, the ordinance only requires that the development area, which can consist of a building and then those adjacent blocks or radius, receive notice. This indicates impact area. So the impact area is defined by the planning and development director. And essentially it's the census tract where the development is, as well as adjacent census tracts. So this is going to substantially increase the amount of notice that goes out, from a few hundred to a few thousand people that will be notified when these development processes and CBO processes begin. Next slide. 90% were in support of this change, 10% were in opposition. Next slide. In regards to number 6, this is presentation to the community benefits process and NAC roles. So at the initial meeting, it's requested that the planning and development director present in detail the process, what the role of the NAC is, the potential impacts as they understand it. The planning and development director shall discuss previous NACs and share outcomes and best practices learned from them. The meeting and a workshop shall allow for the community to ask questions and learn about the upcoming process. As a part of this initial recommendation, it was stated that the developer shall not be present at this first meeting. Staff has done a thorough analysis of each of these recommendations, as well as a fiscal analysis, which will be back before the Planning and Economic Development Committee, I believe on April 12th, where we take issue with that last portion of the amendment, given that this is a formal public process and we don't want to be in violation of an Open Meetings Act concern. So again, that will be presented, but in regards to this particular presentation, next slide. 86% were in support, 14% were in opposition. Next slide. And then we get to the NAC members and the manner in which they are selected. As was previously stated, 2 are elected at large from the community, 4 are appointed from planning and development, 2 from council members at large, and 1 from the council member representing that district and or the largest portion of that district. This proposed recommendation is to break it down to 3, 3, and 3. So 3 from the community, 3 from council, and 3 from the administration. Additionally, the planning and development director, as well as the council member who is in the district containing the largest portion of the impact area, may be able to select from a person outside of the list. So the way the nominations currently work is people can self-nominate or be nominated by their neighbors, and the NAC members are pulled from that list. If there is someone that council wants or that the planning and development director wants that was not nominated, but they know live in that impact area, they have the opportunity to nominate that person or select that person. Next slide. 84% were in support of these proposed changes, 16% were in opposition. Next slide. As it relates to the impact area, any person who is an agent, employee, or rather the NAC, any person who is an agent, employee, or official of the developer must disclose their relationship to the developer prior to the selection to the NAC. This is just a way to head off any conflicts of interest. So if there's an employee for a major developer that's looking to benefit from city tax incentives, and just to ensure that they don't vote, solely because they are an employee, and that relationship is disclosed. Next slide. 97% were in support of this amendment, 3% were in opposition. Next slide. In regards to the NAC's nomination process, the city council member whose district contains the largest portion of the impact area may seek out individuals that live outside of the impact area, but within the city council district or districts where the Tier 1 project is located. We've had a few instances where council didn't have 9 nominations or a list of individuals to choose from, so they are permitted to choose outside that area, or if it's not densely populated. 89% were in support, 11% were in opposition. Next slide. In regards to NAC actions, attendance is required, and if you miss a meeting, the NAC has an opportunity to remove you from the NAC and appoint an alternate. This language also allows for an alternate to be selected during the nomination process. Next slide. 83% were in support, 17% were in opposition. Next slide. Meetings between the developer and the NAC. Again, this reiterates that no fewer than 5 meetings are to take place. And then this states what the developer should present on the front end. At minimum, how the proposed project may utilize green infrastructure, create jobs for Detroiters, detail which tax incentives they are seeking with specific amounts, and to what extent the project will feature subsidized, discounted, affordable housing and or commercial spaces. Next slide. 82% were in support of this amendment, 18% were in opposition. Next slide. Additional meetings by 2/3 vote on the City Council and the DGC shall provide all essential documents to the NAC members, essentially on the front end. We've run into situations where, NACs have been asked to vote, but they still don't know fully what they're voting on or what the developer is asking for. So this strengthens that language about what supporting documentation should be presented on the front end. Next slide. 89% were in support, 11% were in opposition. Next slide. In regards to the CBO report, it asks that a detailed list of community outreach strategies used to solicit and record feedback be incorporated to that report. Next slide. 89% were in support, 11% were in opposition. Next slide. In regards to the CBO report as well, the NAC will have no less than 1 week to review the community benefits agreement before being asked by the city to vote or sign a letter in support of the proposed benefit. Again, this is to ensure that everything that the community has asked for or that has been agreed upon has been incorporated before they're asked to issue their support. Next slide. 89% were in support, 11% were in opposition. Next slide. On the development agreement, the word may has been changed to shall in regards to enforcement for that enforcement mechanism, and that relates to clawbacks of city provided benefits, revocation of land transfers or land sales. Again, in staff's analysis, we do take issue with this one particular recommendation. If compensation is due to the developer on city-held land if they've made mass improvements. Next slide. 84% were in support of that one word change from may to shall. 16% were in opposition. Next slide. In regards to the enforcement committee, again, changing the composition from human rights to CREO, as well as incorporating the legislative policy division and the chair of the respective Tier 1 development. Next slide. 87% were in support, 13% were in opposition. Next slide. These are the last two, I promise. In regards to division of revenue for Tier 2 developments, the language has been proposed that the remaining 80%, so right now, if it's a residential development, 20% goes towards the Affordable Housing Fund. It's recommended that the remaining 80% of the total sale price for Tier 2 property sales shall be evenly divided among Neighborhood Improvement Fund and the Skilled Trades Readiness Trades Fund. So that is the final recommendation. Next slide. 71% were in support, 29% were in opposition. And you can take down the share screen. But again, this item, along with the thorough analysis, legislatively as well as fiscally will be back before the Planning and Economic Development Committee on April 12th. At that time, I believe a committee of the whole will be scheduled for the latter part of April, which was delayed from January 28th of this year, in which these recommendations will be voted on individually, as well as any other recommendations that council may wish to push forward. And a draft ordinance will be prepared by the law department and a public hearing will be held.
There we go. Take it off mute. Thanks, George. I appreciate that. Now, I know that there is a Council President Pro Tem did request that there's an analysis, a fiscal analysis take place on these particular proposals. Can you talk briefly about that? And then we're going to, before you go to there, George, we want to make sure that folks know that we'll have an opportunity to provide comment or ask questions of the panel. If you are on the Zoom right now, you can dial, if you're on phone, *9. If you're on a Windows computer, it is Alt plus the letter Y. If it is, there we go. If you're on a Windows computer, it's Alt plus the letter Y. If you're on an Apple's computer, it is Option plus the letter Y. So if you want to ask questions, we also have the opportunity to ask questions on Facebook as well. So George, talk to us about the fiscal analysis report that was requested. What's the status of it?
So that report is in the hands of the administration at this point in time. It is a joint report between legislative policy as well as the Office of the Chief Financial Officer. They're looking at things such as man and woman power, how much time and staff time is going to be associated with attending these meetings. What impacts will it have on the city's budget by lowering the threshold from $75 to $50 million? Will it have a chilling effect on development? Reporting requirements, again, looking at those types of items in great detail from a dollar perspective is a part of that report, which again should be back before your body on April 12th.
All right. Appreciate that. So we've got the presentation. Now we're going to open up for questions. I'll start with the first one, and this will be for CREO. So we know we have at least one of the entities that has been reviewed and analyzed. They're out of compliance, right, in one of those particular issues. What is the recourse? And it could, as we go along the way, those numbers could increase. There could be some other developments that are out of compliance. What is the penalty for being out of compliance? Is it just saying, don't do that again? Is it do that thing that you weren't supposed to do within a certain time frame? Is there a monetary penalty? What is the penalty for not reaching compliance in the particular areas that the developers were supposed to within the agreement?
Tanika, do you want to take that one? That's a great question. So the penalty. First, if we find out that they are non-compliant with the commitment, we will have a meeting, a sit down to address that, and then allow them to create a compliance plan. That compliance plan has to be detailed with dates, and then we follow up with the compliance plan on that date or whatever dates they agreed to, and we'll follow up on that date. And if they're still non-compliant, then they're completely non-compliant and we bring it to City Council. But if they are compliant with their compliance plan, then they are just compliant.
And I just want to add to that too, with what Tanika said. So we'll bring it to City Council, but I think what's important is that there's kind of record made around what has been their relationship with their community in the city, and how could that impact, future opportunities for that developer or business in the future. Council member, I think you're on mute.
There we go. So we'll now go to the public. We'll go to Zoom first. Yelena, good morning. Do we have anyone from the public on Zoom who would like to ask their question or give a comment?
Yes, good morning, Councilman. Good morning, all. We have 2 hands raised. The first one is ending in 8114.
Caller ending in 8114. We're just asking everyone, please be brief because we went a little longer in this segment. We want to make sure we honor everyone's time as we move forward in the D1 monthly meeting. So caller ending in 114, the floor is yours. Caller ending in 114. Take yourself off mute, please. Gonna try again, caller ending in 114. Are you there? Yeah, this is technology. Yelena, let's put them back in the end of the queue. Let's go to the, I think they took them off.
Yep.
There we go. I think I know that voice. Bill Hickey, good morning. Are you there, Bill?
No, Bill is the second hand raised.
Oh, I thought I heard Bill's voice. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, do you want to mute the other person and
I was waiting for whoever this is. Are they there?
I don't hear anyone.
All right, let's go to the next caller then, and we'll bring them back and give them another chance.
Okay, our next caller is Bill Hickey.
All right. Good morning, Bill. Thanks for joining us. The floor is yours, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you to the panel. Great presentation. My question, I have a couple. They're for George. George, as you know, Detroit People's Platform and Equitable Detroit Coalition made 4 proposed amendments at that January 30th, 2020 meeting. And we submitted them after that to Planning and Development. None of those 4 amendments were forwarded to council. We're working with council right now to try to get those amendments to be considered. Is there any, at this date, is there anything that Planning and Development Department intends to do in terms of moving those 4 to the council? As you may remember, they have to do with the composition of NAC, with conflict of effort, with a signed binding agreement, and with quality of life issues that should be considered by the developer.
So Bill, if you can ask all of your questions, and we'll have George answer them, because again, we do have to.
Okay, the other 2 questions are, what is the possibility or the probability that any of these amendments will escape a mayoral veto? And I guess the other one goes to you, Councilmember Tate. Is there enough backing on the council to overcome a veto? And does the veto have to be of individual amendments, or does it have to be of the whole range of proposed amendments?
Okay, we'll get your questions answered, Bill. Thank you.
Right, sure.
So George,
All right.
let's go first. Did you get the first question about moving the proposals that were presented, I believe, back in January?
Absolutely. So again, that document, which was submitted by the Detroit People's Platform and Equitable Detroit in January of 2020, was ultimately forwarded to City Council. It was submitted via email to the City Planning Commission. In regards to those amendments being carried through, many of them were similar to what was presented in 2018 and were considered by the working group. Again, a compromise was made among the working group to come up with the 17, ultimately resulting in the 333 recommendation for the composition of the NAC. If any of the council members wanted to advance those recommendations in place of another, they certainly have the opportunity to do so, either prior to or at the public hearing, which will be scheduled for the proposed text amendment.
Okay, and I know the other question was regarding, is there enough of a backing of council to overcome a mayoral veto? Have not experienced yet what that veto would look like. George, talk to us a little bit about if you're familiar with what veto power, if it's different than any other ordinance, because if it isn't, then from my understanding, the mayor does have the final say on this particular ordinance.
The mayor does have an opportunity to veto any ordinance which comes before City Council. After council votes, unless a waiver of reconsideration is added, a council member can change their mind within the course of a week prior to the next formal. After that time elapses, it goes to the mayor's office where he has a week to then consider it. He either lets it ride or he vetoes. If he vetoes, it can go back to City Council and council can override. I'm not certain if a line item veto is something that the mayor has the authority to do or if it's a wholesale veto. I would have to defer to the law department in that regard. I'm not certain.
And I'll just say that the council has yet to have a full discussion about the proposals. We were to have one, as George mentioned, earlier this year, but that has been postponed. Potentially will happen in April, but it is now sitting in the council of the whole, essentially the council president's office. So she's making that determination as we speak during this month. All right. Yelena, who's our next caller? And this will be our last call question for this particular segment. Yelena?
It's Miss Dorothy Menifee.
Ms. Dorothy Menifee, thank you for joining us. The floor is yours. Ms. Menifee, are you there? Ms. Menifee? I see the mute going on and off. Ms. Menifee? Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to move on. Ms. Menifee, we want to make sure that the contact information for today's speakers are available. If you have any further questions, as well as the other caller who we could not hear. Again, I just want to thank you, Director Rustom, as well as Ms. Griggs for being here, joining us, providing very valuable information. Of course, as I always say, D1's very own George Etheridge. We appreciate you as well for being here. Hope to have you soon, hope have you back soon as we continue to progress this particular issue that's extremely important to the city of Detroit, and more importantly, very important to the residents of the city of Detroit. Again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care. Be safe, be well. All right. So, also want to give a shout out. I saw that State Representative Young is here. She has joined us. Stephanie Young, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your participation and all the work that you do and all the phenomenal things that you've done in our community over the years. Appreciate you being here. Now on to the next segment here. Some of you may not know, but in the state of Michigan, an average of 142 infants die each year due to unsafe sleep conditions. That's approximately 3 babies a week. To combat this issue in Detroit, the Detroit Health Department, working with numerous partners, facilitates safe sleep classes throughout Detroit at various locations where the community members actually live, right in the neighborhoods. They also provide very valuable resources like portable cribs and other things, other resources for parents to participate and who participate in the one-on-one program. D1, please welcome Tracy King of the Safe Sleep. She's a Safe Sleep coordinator with the Detroit Health Department, and she will provide key information on the Detroit Infant Safe Sleep Program and how it's working to reduce the number of infants who die as a result of unsafe sleep conditions. Ms. King, thank you for joining us. How are you this morning?
I'm great, and thank you for having me this morning. I'm so excited to be here to talk about infant safe sleep practices because it's something really, really important in the city of Detroit. A lot of us don't know about the infant mortality rate in the city of Detroit. In Michigan alone, we have at least 142 infant deaths that die each year due to unsafe sleep practices. From 2010 to 2017, there was approximately 1,136 infant deaths in the state of Michigan. In 2015, sleep-related deaths was one of the top 3 infant deaths in the U.S. and in Detroit. In Detroit alone, there was 254 sleep-related deaths between 2010 and 2017. The Michigan average is rated like 6. Yeah, the Michigan average rate is like 6. Detroit is 12.7. We're double the rate in Michigan just in the city of Detroit. In Wayne County, we had approximately 400 and something deaths, but alone in Detroit, it was 254. That's out, not even counting Highland Park, Hamtramck, Ecorse, just in the city of Detroit alone. So it is so important for us to get the word out for infant safe sleep death. And I am the safe sleep coordinator for Detroit Health Department. And what I do, I go around in the community pre-COVID and educate the community on infant safe sleep death, like community centers, faith-based organizations, anyone that will allow us to come in and talk about safe sleep. Right now, we're doing all our classes on Zoom every Tuesday and Thursdays for the community. So we're definitely reaching out for everyone in the community because to let them know how important infant safe sleep is. I didn't realize how important it was until I had a niece, baby who passed away from infant safe sleep death. At the time the baby passed away, I thought it was just an isolated case until I started working in safe sleep. I didn't realize how many babies died in the city of Detroit from infant safe sleep death.
Director Coordinator King, and what really made it put a point on it to me is when I saw the slides that you sent over that really show, and we've got to have a further conversation about this. I want to know if we can show the slides, if we can talk a little bit about the slides that you have provided, especially in District 1, very concerning to me. New information that is very eye-opening, but when we look at the numbers over here again, 48223, 48229, excuse me, 48219, 48227, and 48235. Those, the shading gets a little darker in those areas. You talk to us about that, and why do we think that those numbers are such, you know, in certain areas of the city, and it's not the same in others?
Yes. Okay. This blue map, it represents all the babies who died due to unsafe sleep practices, and this is called SUID. SUID is sudden unexplained infant death syndrome. That's normally when a baby has died from either strangulation or suffocation. Um, a parent might have rolled over on the baby, anything of that nature, they would consider that SUID. And the darker the blue is the more deaths that zip code has had. And the circles represent how many classes we had in that area. Okay. And as you can see in District 1, 13 to 25, we had 13 to 25% deaths in District 1. But as you can see in 227 and 228, the numbers got even higher. And what I have realized, a lot of it is cultural in the African American community.
Let's throw the other slide. I think you made reference to it, Reggie. Can we show that other slide, please?
This right here, it represents infant mortality rate in the city of Detroit. All the babies that's under 1 year of age, no matter if it was due to a car accident, a shooting, no matter what the cause of death was, this represents all the babies who have died in the city of Detroit under the age of 1 year old. So that's the infant mortality rate from this. And as you can see, the darker the purple, the more death in that zip code. In District 1, we had 18 to 30 deaths in that zip code from 2014 to 2016. And actually, I can get you due to COVID, I was not able to update the map, but I can definitely send you a more accurate one because the numbers are not going down.
Right. So I know you mentioned that it's cultural, but I mean, when we look at the city of Detroit, the majority of the city is, 80% is African American, but yet we don't see the entire map of the city covered in dark magenta on this particular map. Yes. When you say it cultural, what do you mean by that? Explain that, if you will.
When I say cultural, a lot of times we tend to do what our parents did, what our grandparents did, and what our grandparents did, because 30 years ago, 30 and 40 years ago, they used to call safe sleep crib death. It was associated with babies dying in the crib. And back then, parents was sleeping with their babies, putting them on their side, putting them on their stomach. And generation through generation, we tend to do what our parents did. So I noticed when I have my classes and I talk to the parents, they tend to do what their parents did and what their parents did because they feel like if it worked 30 years ago, it should work now.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. If it worked for me, it should work for you. But there's some things
Yes.
that change over time.
Yes, and the grandparents, I had this one grandparent in my class, and she stated it doesn't matter if the baby sleep on the side, back, or stomach. When the Lord calls you home, the Lord calls you home. And I say that to say, unfortunately, with the older generation, it's hard to change their mindset.
Yeah, and I know that we're seeing increasing numbers of grandparents who are responsible and taking care of their grandkids.
Yes.
For various reasons. So that makes it a little bit more sense. So we're going to definitely have to have some additional classes in these particular areas and make folks more aware. My other question is, talk to us about the benefits of participating in Safe Sleep Detroit.
Yes. Everyone who participate that's low income either receive WIC or Medicaid. They can receive a free pack and play. That is a portable crib that you can, it comes in a bag, it's on wheels.
Yeah,
So
I
you
think
can,
folks are looking at it right now, as a matter of fact.
yes, this is how it look. And on top, I don't have the top part on here, but on top, it's a bassinet. It holds the baby up to 15 pounds. After the baby reach 15 pounds, you'll take the top off and just put the baby at the bottom, and that holds the baby up to 1 year of age or 30 pounds.
And that's absolutely free for participants.
And absolutely free for every city of Detroit resident who qualify, who's a low income, either receiving Medicaid or WIC.
Any other benefits outside of course, the knowledge, and now we talk about the pack?
Yes,
pack and
yes.
play.
We have plenty of resources. If the mom is suffering from postpartum, if the mom need a car seat, we partner with Children's Hospital Coles Care. We do car seat training every other month, so the moms can get a car seat training for any babies, any kids in their home under the age of 8 years old. They can get a car seat or either a booster seat for any child under 8. It don't matter how many kids that you have.
Okay, and we're looking at the photos. These are pretty sturdy, real nice
Yes.
equipment for these children.
And this one right here is called a high back booster seat. So normally this one that you see, this is for probably like from ages 4 to 6. So we have the smaller ones. We have them in different sizes accordingly to the age and the weight.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you for sure for joining us and providing this information to us. Is there anything that you want to make sure that the public knows before we wrap up? I mean, I know we're going to have your contact information at the end, but you want to give it out now as well?
Yes, my contact number is 313-410-5264, or either they can call 313-961-BABY. That's 313-961-2229.
Okay. And we certainly want to, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I did want to say that we are really, really trying to get into the faith-based organizations because we really believe when the message is coming from the pulpit that the community are more likely to be obedient to it when it's coming from the clergy. So that's why we're definitely focusing on clergy and all those zip codes to try to partner with churches and different faith-based organizations to help get the word out. We also do baby showers every year. We have 7 baby showers coming up to the community, and all the community is welcome to come as long as they have a baby under the age of 1 year of age.
All right.
Call the 410 number to RSVP for the baby showers.
Okay. It looks like we did have one question for you, Yelena. We want to go to that one question, make sure we give the individual an opportunity to ask that question and before we go to that next segment. Ms. King, you got time for us still?
Yes.
All right. Yelena, who's that next caller?
Darius Brantley Jr.
Mr. Brantley Jr., thank you for joining us. The floor is yours, sir.
Hello, Mr. Councilman Tape. My name is Darius Brantley Jr., and I am 8 years old. I would like to help you with how can I bring safe sleep awareness to District 1?
Oh, that's awesome. As we know, thank you, Mr. Darius Brantley Jr. Thank you so much for calling in. I'm so glad that we got this one. This young man here wants to know, Coordinator King, how do we bring more programming to District 1?
Okay,
Get a little closer to your mic just died a little bit. Get a little closer if you will.
okay, I'm
There we
sorry.
go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Bradley Jr., right now we do safe sleep classes for babysitters. So you are welcome to be a part of our youth, what we do safe sleep education for. So you can definitely have your parents to give me a call at the 410 number, and you can get educated with our youth.
All right.
That's great because I have a baby cousin who fell off the bed once.
Ooh.
I did many times.
We want to
Yes.
definitely make sure we connect you to Coordinator King. So please get that. We're going to make sure we have that information. Whoever helped you, and maybe you did it on your own, but please make sure that we're connected with Mr. Darius Brantley Jr. because that was a very special phone call.
Definitely will.
All right. Coordinator King, thank you again for joining us today. We wish you all the best. And again, hope to have you and someone else from the health department back soon so we can really address those high numbers that we see in District.
Yes.
One thing to have programming, but it's another thing to be preventive and stop that the whole host of issues, find out what the root cause of these issues are. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate
Definitely,
it.
I would definitely love to speak with you again on a more private basis on this so we can come together and collaborate and strategize on how to get these numbers down.
All right, we'll be on the lookout because that phone call is coming.
Thank you so much.
All right,
enjoy the rest of the day.
You as well. All right, well, how ironic is it that we had Mr. Darius Brantley Jr. who called in, because that is actually a segue to our next segment that we're going to have, and that's the Youth Spotlight, the D1 Youth Spotlight. We're back after a year of waiting. This is a very special one. This is a 6-year-old young lady named Zola Finley who received recognition from her school at Charles H. Wright Academy. I won't say any more. Beautiful family, but I'll have a couple of words to say after that, and you'll understand why. So Reggie, if you can roll the video, please. And we are here today with special student and her parents, Ms. Zola Finley. She is 6 years old and she attends Charles H. Wright Academy of Arts and Sciences. We want to thank you and her parents. We can never forget the parents because that's literally the foundation upon which these great young, bright minds have an opportunity to grow and blossom. We have parent Sierra Tucker as well as dad, Darrell Finley. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you. So today we're highlighting Ms. Zola because she got a major recognition at her school for having, I think they were good grades, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, what I heard is that I'm looking here on my document, she got 4 A's and 1 B. And because of that, the school decided to honor her with a gift card to Wendy's for the entire year. So we wanted to make sure that we gave you an opportunity as well to be showcased and highlighted before the community, because we know that so many times our young people are not given that opportunity, unfortunately, until something bad happens. But we want to make sure we highlight you because you're doing a great job. So Ms. Zola, I'm hearing that you want to be a firefighter when you grow up?
Yeah.
Now, why do you want to be a firefighter?
Why you want to be a firefighter? Because it's my favorite. You help people.
Oh, see, and that's what I'm talking about. That foundation is there, not just with the school, but also in the spirit and mind to know that it's important to help other people. So mom and dad, you know, you have 2 other children as well. I know this is still the pandemic. We're in that phase right now. How has it been trying to keep Zola and your other 2 children? You have 2 boys. Zola's the youngest. How has it been trying to keep them focused, watching a a computer screen all day long?
Well, actually, it's been quite easy. I'm actually in favor of online school. I love it. It's convenient for us. Our kids they commune together at the table and do their classes together. So they kind of police each other and keep each other on track. They know school is very important, and I'm kind of no nonsense when it comes to school. So they just jump in, but they have great teachers and they attend great schools. So it's kind of teamwork, community effort, and it all aligns that it just runs smoothly.
So how do you feel now with it possibly opening back up and kids going back to school? Now, Zola, she's a kindergartner, so she's never had that experience in
Exactly.
the classroom. So
All the children they want to go back. I'm a little hesitant. I'm like, just wait till next year. Let's wait till September to go back. But all the kids like, we can go back now. We miss our friends. We want to do things. So Zola, I was kind of bummed at the beginning of the year because I'm like, she's going to kindergarten. This is like real school now, and she's missing an opportunity. But she hasn't really missed anything. She's socializing with her friends well. The teacher makes activities for them as if they were in school. So it's working out. The kids want to go back though.
Yeah, I know the feeling because I sure want to go back as well. I'm tired of this monitor all day long.
And our boys play sports, so they're ready for everything just to get back to the norm.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation where you got to weigh the pros and cons, and
definitely,
we're all in this fight together, so we got to do the right thing. So let's
unprecedented times.
Yeah, that's right. We got to make sure we do what's right for these babies, for sure.
And keep each other safe.
So let me ask you this: how does it feel when you get these good grades? I mean, to get an 4 A's and 1 B, that's pretty special. How does it feel when you get those grades?
I feel happy.
You feel happy? Yeah. Dad, tell me, what are some of the ways that you encourage Zola and the rest of the kids?
Well, I do a lot of hands-on things with them. So everything I interact with them is hands-on. We go back and forth a lot about everything. So I make sure they understand how I understand. So we're pretty cool. I like the online schooling too, because technology is something. And the way they navigate through there itself, it's amazing.
They pick on real quick.
They pick up to it really quick. They just showed me a couple things with this team thing.
They are phenomenal. And I'll tell you that I certainly believe that in some capacity, we're going to be doing this, for
quite
frankly. Yes.
I tease them now. I'm like, it's no more snow days ever. You guys are always going to be in school. If school is canceled because we can't drive, you're going to get online. It's no more
that is a
days.
good point. I haven't thought about that. I might have to institute that in the office too. Let's see. But today,
no more snow days. Log online. Work as usual.
Yeah, well, again, we're evolving. We're seeing where this goes. But today we're here to honor Ms. Zola Finley. Can you hold up your award of recognition? I know you have one with you. All right, everyone, please give a round of applause for Ms. Zola. She is our District 1 monthly meeting spotlight for March 2021. We wish you all the best. Stay safe, stay well, and we support you in everything you do.
Thank you so much, Councilman Tay. Thank you.
All right, what a beautiful family. Really touched us. And I gotta say, Reggie actually went on the mom's Facebook page, Sierra's Facebook page. She was trying to make sure he spelled her name correctly. And we found out through a Facebook post, this was afterwards, that mom is having some health concerns right now. And she is a D1 resident, and D1, we come together. Typically you see these call outs, they're asking for money. Sierra's not asking for money. Sierra needs a kidney. Zola Moms needs a kidney right now. She is 31 years old, and she currently has stage 4 kidney disease that is rapidly progressing. She asked if you know someone who has a potential, who's a potential donor. Her email is right there on the screen, tuckersierra@gmail.com. And for those who may have questions about what is it, what does it take to be a living donor, just any information that you're looking for, about how you can help Zola's mom, Sierra, in her current health crisis, you can email or go online at henryfordlivingdonor.org. But by all means, please reach out to Sierra, maybe even with a word of encouragement. But more than anything, if you know anyone who has the ability to be a living kidney donor and has willingness to be so, please reach out. She lives on Braille Street. Again, we want to personalize it. This is your neighbor. It's not just some person on the other side of the screen. So any assistance that can be provided to that beautiful young lady's mom, please let's do what we can as a community. All right. We'll bring this information back up at the end of the meeting to make sure those who would like to participate can do so. Our next segment, we're going to focus on the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. Now, for those of you who are paying attention the last couple of years, we know that the lines, we know that there was a vote that took place that allowed for the residents of the city or the state of Michigan, excuse me, to come together instead of politicians and draw the lines. Every 10 years following the US Census, district lines for political offices must be redrawn in states across the country to accurately reflect their population. Here in Michigan, a random selected commission of citizens is responsible for redrawing or drawing the US congressional, Michigan State House, and Senate district lines. We just talked about that. Voters amended the state constitution in the November 2018 general election to make citizens, not legislators or special interests, responsible for drawing district lines. It's called redistricting. The commission will be comprised of 13 randomly selected Michigan registered voters. It has been put together already, 4 of which are affiliated with the Democratic Party, 4 affiliated with the Republican Party, and 5 who have no record of affiliation to any major political party. Joining us today to unpack all of this, we are very honored to have the chairperson, and she's a Detroiter, chairperson of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, Ms. Brittany Kellum. We also have Juliana Pastula. We're very familiar with her. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're good to see you. She's the general counsel of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. Chairperson Kellum, as well as Attorney Pastula, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you. So talk to us a little bit about this commission, chairperson. Again, congratulations. Congratulations first. Congratulations first on being appointed. That's a huge task itself, because we know that there were several hundred, a couple of thousands, was it thousands or hundreds of folks around the state who applied? Do you know the number?
I think around 10,000 folks, something like that, kind of put their names in. Everyone did the same process of applying. And on my grandmother's birthday, I was listening in live and I heard my name. So that was the start to this beautiful and journeyous, to make up a word, process.
And I believe there's 2 Detroiters on the commission currently, correct? Were there 2 Detroiters appointed?
Yes, myself and Juanita.
Okay, so we love Juanita, but we're here talking to the chairperson. So double congratulations to you. How did you become the chair? Was it selected by the members of the commission, or was there some other authority that made that appointment?
So we as a commission decided that we would look at leadership every 6 months. And I started off at myself and Steve Lett. I was the vice chair, he was the chair. And then this was our time in our, not our last meeting, but the meeting before, to elect new chairperson and a vice chair for the next 6 months. And so we had a commission vote that was on live stream, and that's how I got to be the chairperson.
All right, so you said it's for 6 months?
Yes.
Another? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we're going to take advantage of the fact that you're commissioner chair right now. We appreciate it. So for those who may not know, Commissioner Kellum, Chair Kellum, she's an entrepreneur and a trauma practitioner. She applied to serve with the commission for the following reasons: to effect change by giving agency to everyday citizens, to value the voice, pulse, history, and perspectives of people living in underserved communities and to invest in doing her part to shift the experience of voting to a place of empowerment, education, and justice for every human being. Now, I mentioned that I knew Attorney Pashula in the past. She's worked with City Council for a number of years, and we miss you desperately. Love to have you back, but you're in a great place, and we're so thankful that you're in that role and in the role as the General Counsel. Attorney Pashula assists the commission in fulfilling their constitutional obligations as they embark on the inaugural redistricting process, utilizing new criteria and practices and procedures. Her advice and guidance are focused on executing a robust, independent, fair, citizen-led, and transparent redistricting process. Again, I couldn't think of anybody better to sit in that position either, so I appreciate you being there, Attorney Pashula. I know you guys have a presentation, so I don't want to continue to talk over you. The floor is yours. Let folks know a little bit about what the commission is, kind of how things are going now. And I know that there's a concern about the census numbers. We're waiting, we want to make sure that we get those census numbers in time for you all to do the work that you need to be done. And then also, if you can, at the end of your presentation, talk to the community about how they can get involved, because I know that there are some meetings that are coming up that you'll be having around the state, but in particular in the city of Detroit. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilman Tate. So that wonderful introduction, I don't even feel like I can even introduce myself any better, but good morning to all of you here, all of you listening. My name is Brittany Kellum. As he said, I serve as chair and member of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, also known as the MICRC, if that is a mouthful for you. That's a long title with a mighty goal ahead. And I am a native resident of Detroit, Michigan. I like to take this time to recognize Councilman Tate for opening up this D1 monthly meeting to information about the MICRC. And I'd also like to express gratitude to Reginald Alexander for coordinating this opportunity. You can head to the next slide. So a little history of the MICRC. In 2018, Michigan voters passed Proposal 2, a ballot initiative for voters and not legislators to take responsibility for nonpartisan redistricting, and created the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. As Councilman Tate gave you that great information, we'll just review it some more. So the MICRC is comprised of 13 randomly selected Michigan residents. That includes 4 Democrats, 5 independents, and 4 Republicans. The MICRC is responsible for redistricting the U.S. Congressional, Michigan House, and Michigan Senate districts. Next slide. And for our public hearings to ensure fair and impartial maps, the MICRC is required to solicit public input before drawing any redistricting plan for the Michigan Congressional, House, and Senate districts through a minimum of 10 public hearings across the state. Next slide. And the purpose of our public hearings, per the Michigan Constitution, is 1, to inform the public about the redistricting process, 2, share the purpose and responsibilities of the commission, and 3, solicit information from the public about potential redistricting plans for Michigan Congressional, House, and Senate districts. Next slide. So the following slides are our public hearings that are planned with locations and dates. Of course, they are subject to change, but if any of those changes happen, the public would have due notice and appropriate time to prepare for that. So let's go back to the first slide. I'll just kind of go over some, oh, not the first slide, I'm sorry, the location and date slide. There we are. So we have Gaylord Treetops Resort, May 4th, excuse me. May 6th, we're at the Northern Michigan University in Marquette. Next slide. May 11th, we're at the Lakeshore Convention Center in Muskegon. May 13th, the DeVos Center, Grand Rapids. May 18th, Jackson Community College in Jackson. On May 20th, the Wing Stadium at Kalamazoo. Midland, we're going to be at the Great Hall Banquet and Convention Center on May 25th. May 25th, yeah. And in Lansing, sorry, I had to get my bearings. In Lansing, we'll be there at the Lansing Center on May 27th. And Pontiac, we don't have a location just yet, but we are planning to be there on June 1st. And in Flint, the Dort Center on June 3rd. June 8th, we'll be in Novi at the Suburban Collection Showplace, and we'll be in Dearborn June 10th at the Ford Conference Center. In Detroit, on June 15th, the Wayne County Community College Northwest location, and also the TFC Center on June 17th. Port Huron on June 22nd, Blue Water Convention Center, and then we'll be in Warren June 24th at the MRCC Banquet Center. So those are the locations. We will also not just have our hearings, we will have town hall meetings to make sure that we are really taking a robust and curious approach to the communities, making sure that voices are definitely heard. And so what's the criteria for redistricting? So as mandated by the US Constitution, equal population refers to the amount of people in the district. So for congressional districts, it's approximately 711,000 people. We have 14 districts now, and it's expected that we may have 13 districts. For Michigan Senate district, it's between 212, around give or take, and 263,000. There are 38 members. For the Michigan House District, it is between 77,000 and 91,000 residents, and there are 10 members. So for the Voting Rights Act, federal legislation that prohibits racial discrimination, and we'll talk more about communities of interest on the next slide. Communities of interest include art districts, neighborhoods, businesses, art, agricultural, education, waterfront communities, and so much more. And although race is important, it is not the only character of a community of interest. Next slide. So we welcome, as I talked about before, about needing community input, not just at the hearings, but please do extend your thoughts and ideas to increase awareness and engagement of this redistricting process, and email them to us, everything that you're thinking about, at redistricting@michigan.gov. Again, that's redistricting@michigan.gov. Or you can put it in the snail mail to the MICRC PO Box 30318, Lansing, Michigan 48909. We share them weekly at our meetings on Thursdays during public comments, or you can also, like I said, come and speak during one of our upcoming public hearings. To learn more information about the MICRC or the upcoming public hearings, please visit www.michigan.gov/MICRC. And I just want to thank you again for this opportunity to present and talk a little bit more about the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing, Madam Chair. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So, I think one of the questions that I have before we open up, and if anyone has any questions, again, you feel free to raise your hand because we're going to go to Q&A with the general public. But I do want to ask a question. I know you're asking folks, hey, we have meetings, come on down, participate, and we definitely want to make sure that happens. But the other question is, people may not know, they want to get there, they want to participate, they want to make sure that it's in that the lines are drawn by citizens and not politicians or special interests, but they don't necessarily know what to ask and how to present and what they are necessarily looking for. What are you, as the commission, what are you all looking for from the community in terms of participation, outside of them just being their presence?
So I think, and Julianne might have some thoughts on this as well, and feel free, this is a tag team approach, but I think from the standpoint of just being able to speak from the perspective of their community, where they're from, their interests in their neighborhood. When I was watching this meeting earlier, there was a coordinator that was talking about baby safety and not just general baby safety and sleep safety, but the effect that has on the community. And so when we think about, and that's such a micro example, but the impact of her shared information and how it has impacts across the city of Detroit, the redistricting process is the same. If we don't hear from, the areas, we got Bagley, we have Palmer Woods, we have areas of Deep West, if those folks don't come out and explain the reverence or connection that they have with the streets and folks around them, as we begin to look at maps and what communities are important to stick together, we don't have that influence, we don't have that information. And so simply by vocalizing how they're a part of their community, but also literally visually seeing who comes out, that will have, I would like to think, an impact, an influence on the types of discussions we have in terms of remap or mapping.
General Counsel Pashley, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, thank you. And good morning, Councilmember Tate. Thank you so much for the opportunity to join your meeting with Commission Chair Kellum. And congratulations also to Miss Zola Finley on her wonderful achievement. She's well on her way to becoming a firefighter. But yes, I would like to add to highlight again what Chairperson Kellum indicated. The commission is going to be welcoming and receiving all of these public comments. It will also have a public comment tool where you could submit your ideas and comments online. Currently, you can email us and those emails become part of our record. But the public comment tool that should hopefully be in line in the very near future will be another way to engage. And as far as submitting proposed communities of interest and advocating for your community to be considered as a community of interest in proposing maps, I just also wanted to highlight and remind people, you don't have to divide up 110 House districts and the 38 Senate. Just draw the map for your community or your area or however many maps that you feel strongly about, and you'll be able to submit those as well through the public comment tool. So that's a very exciting thing that we're all looking forward to. And just keep checking back on our website. We have all of the information from all of our meetings is available on our website.
So I know there's a concern that I heard about the census numbers and how the timing of the census numbers getting to the commission may affect your process in some capacity. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes.
Julianne, you can go ahead because we just had a whole meeting where you were breaking it down. Yes.
So yes, thank you, Councilmember Tate. So the census data, the apportionment data, which is used to divide the congressional seats, I have a visitor, excuse me, is normally given before January 1st. And the redistricting data, which is used for the state legislative districts, is normally delivered by March 31st. For context, in the 2010 cycle, the commission at the state legislature received that data March 11th. The census data, because of the pandemic and natural disasters, has been extending that date from April to July and now September 30th. The issue becomes that the commission's maps, in order to meet the current constitutional deadline of November 1st, the maps have to be proposed by September 17th. So this is an impossibility. We cannot reconcile these dates. So the commission has authorized myself in conjunction with the Secretary of State's office as not only secretary to the commission, but also the chief election officer of the state to file a petition for relief with the Michigan Supreme Court. And just at our last meeting, the commission provided me further guidance with the dates that they would like proposed to ask the Supreme Court for relief. So we'll be moving forward with that in the very near future. And that will be discussed not only at our meetings, but publicized in the media and on our website as well when that filing occurs.
Okay. And I know right now we are currently in a pandemic, and I know we have some dates that have been set. And it appears that are those locations for the meetings in public, or are we setting aside a contingency plan for, I mean, we got the vaccine, thankfully we're getting jabs in arms. We see the numbers going up. Is there a contingency plan to have these meetings also virtual in some capacity?
Well, so what I would answer, that's an excellent question, Councilmember Tate. So what I would highlight is that the current ability to meet virtually expires on March 31st, as you're aware. The commission, there's a state of emergency declared in not only the city of Lansing, but in Ingham County as well. So we will continue our regular meetings virtually through the end of April. But what's exciting is that for the public hearings, the intent is to have them in person in the locations that were provided by the chair on the slides. However, the commission is required under the Constitution to provide virtual access to the public, even if our meetings are in person. So they must be live streamed. The public must be able to have contemporaneous viewing, and for public, they must have a virtual public comment period as well. So what I would say is that our goal and our wish and our hope is, if it's safe, to conduct in-person meetings, and that if people do not feel comfortable attending in person, that virtual option will be there as well.
Great, great. Because I know that I could hear people thinking about that with computer screens as I asked that question. Okay, so now we're going to go to questions from the public, if there are any. Elaine, I believe we have at least one question that has been, one hand that has been raised for a question.
We actually have two now.
All right.
Our first question is Cunningham Pray.
Cunningham Pray. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Cunningham Pray, are you there? All right, Cunningham, we're going to try one more time. Cunningham Pray, are you there?
I'm unmuting them and it doesn't seem to work.
Okay, well, let's go to the next caller then, and we'll bring them back and see if.
I'm sorry, hello?
There you go. It's Cunningham. What's going on? How are you today?
What up, though? I was at Dutch Girls getting my food.
All right.
Dutch Girl is a good choice.
That's right. You come visit us in District 1 next time, but we'll take that. Do you have a question for our panelists regarding the Michigan Independent Redistricting Commission?
Okay, well, I got to say this first. The Honorable Member Tate, I've known him over 10 years. And when you say reach, I mean REACH. He reaches his people. And obviously, he's under good ministry of the Kenlocks, why he loves his folks and do all of this outreach like this right here.
I appreciate it.
I am a little, I have to watch what I say around the council people.
I'll speak freely. You got a question? What's your question?
I'm a little simple. So do you have like a YouTube or something that can explain, like in simple terms, who you are and what you do a little bit more? Like, so like when I learn a lot of things, people say I know some things, but I learn from like cartoons. I learn from tutorials on YouTube, cartoons heavily. I'm not ashamed of nothing. If you could give me like a paragraph of what simply you do and how does it affect me? And I'm trying to find me a land bank. I got like $5 grand saying, oh Lord have mercy. I have like $5 grand saved up, and I don't know if Tate want me in this area, but I'm trying to find me a land bank if I can find me a little raggedy land bank in this area. So the question is, could you explain, like you're trying to make a third grader understand, how does it affect me? And is there some type of tutorial on YouTube?
All right, Brother Cunningham, we appreciate you calling in, and you're welcome in District 1 at any time. We would love to have you over here in D1. So I think he kind of spoke to the thing that a lot of people are saying, you know, people are visual learners. That, you know, when you see graphics, pictures, it sometimes translates a lot better than all these words on a sheet of paper. Are there any plans for any visual educational tools for folks who are trying to learn this process? Because I'm glad, you know, glad he brought that up, because that's a very important point. And then, you know, again, in that 30-second pitch, I guess that third grade pitch that he talked about, why is this important for the average resident of the city of Detroit?
Oh, I know that Julian will have some thoughts on this, but what I will say is this is Mr. Cunningham Pray. I hope you're still listening. This is the opportunity for folks to maybe, like it was said in my bio, to think about their ability to have choice and voting in a more direct way. We have gone away with the opportunity, the chance for politicians, the folks in the suits in the offices, to draw the lines, and which impacts the way that we vote and the decisions and the folks that fight for us or don't fight for us, or, you know, as we think of current times, all of these shifts that have been made, these transitions. And previously, if you've been a person or not that have felt like, you know, your vote doesn't matter, or you speaking up your perspective isn't really heard, this is a direct opportunity to communicate with folks that look just like you. You know, it's 13 of us that were plucked out of our homes, you know, and in some sense, or even in our homes with these live streams. And we are tasked with the job, because this is the time frame now, to remap your whole state, that whole big mitten. We are now redrawing the lines that impact essentially how districts are represented, and those people that are in power or not in power, how they make the decisions that have everything to do with like schools that you live in, zoning, all of those things, all of the things that kind of trickle into your daily life, even land bank opportunities, you know, those are things that I would say, if I was explaining it to one of my kiddos that I work with, this is an opportunity for you to share your ideas about what community in the state of Michigan looks like, and larger, what our primary elections look like. So that would be my spiel. I want to give Julianne a chance as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. So yes, I think Mr. Cunningham Pray had an excellent question and an observation, and we've begun our outreach. We're going to continue our outreach. And certainly I know there is a plan to have videos as well as tutorials on how to use the resources that we're putting forth to the public. So I think those will be very helpful. And as to, again, how does it affect? It affects every single Michigander. It affects who you vote for. It affects where you're going to go to vote. It could not be more broad. So, and the timing, I think, is critical, that the proposal 18-2 was enacted, because really what we're doing is the Constitution is now uplifting the citizens to guide this process, and to take the partisan imbalance out of it. And so we'll have more competitive districts. We'll have the set 7 criteria that the chair had on the slide, that the commission is bound to follow that ranked criteria. This is an exciting new process. This is the inaugural commission, and the independent commissions nationwide that have undertaken this effort in the past have in fact resulted in more fair and competitively drawn maps. And in Michigan too, just very briefly, this is critically important, because in 2017, the federal court found that our maps were partisan gerrymandered, portions of them. And we were to have special elections based on redrawn maps, but the Supreme Court in the Common Cause case said partisan gerrymandering is not available for judicial relief. So we find this is a critical issue for Michigan. It's a critical issue for all of us. And as a career public servant, I just could not be more thrilled that we're moving forward in this open manner for citizen engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to open up for questions, and unfortunately, we are getting very close. We're actually in overtime right now in the meeting, so we're going to make sure that we have quick, concise questions that we can get to you. Yelena, how many questions do we have? How many folks do we have with hands raised?
Just one more. We actually have 2, Keith and James. So I'm going to unmute. The first caller is Keith Minty.
Okay, these will be our last 2 questions. Keith Minty, thank you for joining us. The floor is yours. What's your question, concern, comment? Keith, you might want to take off your, there you go.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. First of all, it's Minty.
Minty.
It's a difficult name to
sorry about that.
to phonetically get the first time, but nevertheless, my questions is because I've looked at the districts, you know, and how the lines are drawn, and we see how they over the course of time, neighborhoods get cherry picked as to who can represent what and where. And two things I'd like to know is once you've decided how the lines are going to be drawn, is there, you know, who gets does the citizenry get an opportunity to weigh in on whether they feel like it's fair or not, and if and when it gets, I guess, affirmed, will the implementation be in time for, or when will the implementation be in time for the next voting session?
Two real good questions.
The leaders for those particular districts.
So Mr. Minty, there will be an opportunity for the public to weigh in during the first phase of public hearings that were discussed in the presentation. The commission meetings, when they're drawing the maps, will be open, and when the final maps, or the proposed maps, excuse me, are proposed, there will be a 45-day public comment period and another round of public hearings that will be going around the state and engaging the community. Those were had first and second on the slideshow. I'm sure that the slides will be posted, so those can be cross-referenced there. And the work should be done in time for the 2022 elections.
All right. Elaine, next caller.
James Liddell.
James Liddell, thank you for joining us. The floor is yours. You are our final caller. James, are you there? I see. James, are you there? I see you took your mute off. The joys of remote meetings. One more time, we're gonna get you. James, are you there? All right, well, we apologize. We're gonna have to move on. Again, as I mentioned, we're not able to connect today for whatever reason. We are providing contact information so that you can reach out to the speakers that we have. Elaine, I believe that was our last question, correct?
Yes, Councilman.
All right. Well, I just want to thank two very important people. One I've known for a long time, and one who's got a lot of connections with my family that I just found out, Madam Chair. But I want to thank Chairperson Brittany Kellum. She is the chair of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. And a good friend of mine, thank you as well for joining us today, Attorney Juliana Pastula. She is the General Counsel for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. I would love to have you back joining us, providing updates to the community as the process continues. So again, thank you for joining us today. All right. You all have
Thank you very much. Thank you to the D1 community.
Thank you so much. This is a pleasure and honor to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so we're now going to go, as I mentioned, we're in overtime, so we're going to go quickly into our hot topics. Reggie, let's throw them up on the slideshow. I believe the first one we have coming up is in April 1st. April 1st, we have, ready for the slide, it's coming. Well, I know April 1st, the city of Detroit is beginning to accept applications for the licensing for recreational marijuana that begins April 1st. There we go. Well, we can go to the next one. Just we're letting folks know April 1st. You can reach out to the homegrown website to make sure that you apply. If you have any questions regarding cannabis related issues, by all means, reach out to us and we will contact you back. Next slide. Next one coming up is, I think I can't see it on the screen, but I believe going back from memory recollection, it is about the expansion, ladies and gentlemen, the expansion of the COVID-19 vaccine. There you go. Currently, those who are 50 and older are able to obtain the vaccine, but following April 5th, or as of April 5th, on April 5th, anybody 16 years of age or older will be able to obtain the vaccine in the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan. To sign up for your appointment, please call 313-230-0505, and the information is right there on the screen. I want to congratulate and thank all Detroiters who've gone out and got their COVID vaccination. Our numbers in terms of vaccinations are looking really good. Unfortunately, we are seeing an uptick, so please do not let your guard down. Those of you who have your vaccination, don't let your guard down, because you still can transfer the virus to someone else, even if you're yourself inoculated. Reggie, off on the next slide, please. All right, the old Redford Rogel Park link, there's going to be a virtual community meeting. You know, we've been talking about Rogel Park for quite some time. It's been closed for quite some time as well. Well, the redevelopment of a very major portion of our community here in D1, it's going to take place, the meeting virtually is going to take place on April 7th. That's a Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. If you look on that slide here, you'll see the Zoom coordinates, but if you just keep up with us with D1 on our Facebook page, we'll make sure you have that information. We're going to send it out via our gov.delivery as well. And then finally, most folks have heard about the extension dates for taxes. So the federal government has extended the tax date from April 15th to May 17th, 2021. Michigan, the state of Michigan did the same thing. Taxes are due for the state of Michigan at 11:59 p.m. on May 17th. The question is about the city of Detroit. When is the city of Detroit going to extend the tax collection? Well, we're in the process of doing that right now. City of income tax deadline of April 15th for Detroit is not automatically extended. Even though those other extensions are there, there's legislation that has been introduced that will allow the city and other municipalities around the state to do exactly what the state of Michigan has done and extended the tax deadline. We're hopeful that sometime by the end of next week, we'll get that legislation passed. If you would like to read about this legislation, you can go online and just type in House Bill 4569. You might want to put in 2021 for the year as well. But House Bill 4569 is the legislation, and hopefully we'll get that approved soon. That will allow the city of Detroit also to extend our deadline for our tax collection to mirror the federal and the state. I believe that is the end of our hot topics, but we want to bring back up the information for Miss Sierra. Reggie, we can put that back on the screen, please. Zola's mom. As I mentioned earlier, you know, got a lot of congratulations for Miss Zola. She deserves it all. She also deserves, to the best of her ability, to have a mom that's able to celebrate all those other accomplishments that she most certainly is going to have throughout her lifetime. Again, if you're interested in being a potential living kidney donor for Zola's mom, Sierra, and any more information that you need to find out about her situation, you can contact her directly on her email at tuckersierra@gmail.com. And if you're just looking for some information on how first to, what is a living donor, you can do so by going to Henry Ford Hospital's website. It is henryfordlivingdonor.org. We're praying for you, Sierra, and the entire family. We do wish everything that you deserve coming to you actually happens. And we want the best for you and your family. All right, so that wraps up another District 1 monthly meeting for the month of May. I want to thank my team. Great job as always. Thank everyone from the community who joined us today. Thank each and every one of our presenters who gave their time to share that great information that we all heard this morning. We're still in morning. We're going to leave you, before we wrap up, we're going to leave you with the contact information, as I mentioned, of all the speakers today. If you have any further questions for them, by all means, reach out. Until next time, we thank you. God bless you. Stay safe and stay well, D1.